Today, we're going to revisit our old friend Catch-Up Kathy and meet her new neighbor, Rachel Roth. Our ladies are 50 years old, earn the same salary, and have the same amount saved. Both also have the same annual living expenses and want to retire at age 65. Catch-Up Kathy decides that she'll max out her traditional 401k savings, including the full catch-up amount, every year between now and retirement at age 65. She wants to grow her 401k as much as she possibly can. Rachel Roth, however, doesn't want to pay pesky income taxes on withdrawals from her accounts in retirement. After all, Roth accounts are better, right? Therefore, she decides that she'll instead make all her ongoing savings into the Roth 401k option that her employer offers. So, who'll be behind at retirement? Stick around because I think a lot of you might be surprised. The original idea behind tax-deferred retirement accounts, such as the 401k, was that after we stop working, we'll be in a lower tax bracket. Deferring some of our income taxes until then can turn into a significant tax break over the course of our retirement. Uncle Sam gave up a little tax revenue today to encourage people to save for the future. Then, with the passing of the Taxpayer Relief Act of 1997, the Roth IRA was born. This allowed for the creation of an account that could grow tax-free and was not taxed when money was distributed from it. Less than 10 years later, the tax code was changed again to allow employers to offer a Roth 401k option to employees. Ever since then, employees have asked the same question, regular or Roth? And that's where we find our friends Kathy and Rachel today. For simplicity and consistency, we'll again use the same assumptions that we've made in prior videos for all our calculations. Inflation will be 3% and our expected portfolio returns will be 7%. Again, these assumptions are round numbers close enough to historical data for the purposes of our comparison. For income, we'll assume they each make $120,000 per year. To estimate their Social Security, we'll simply input Kathy's and Rachel's income into the Social Security Online Quick Calculator to arrive at a monthly benefit. We'll also assume that they're both single. For retirement portfolio income, we'll once again use the 4% rule. As always, I want to acknowledge that there are some limits to the 4% rule, but it's great for these kinds of back-of-the-envelope calculations. For Kathy, we assume she fully maxes out her 401k, including catch-up contributions. Given the current catch-up limit of $6,500, her total savings would be $27,000 this year. For Rachel, we assume she skips the regular 401k contributions altogether. Instead, she'll invest entirely in her Roth 401k going forward. Remember, she'll need the exact same amount for living expenses as Kathy. Adjusting for this and taxes put her savings around $19,100 per year. It's interesting to see the magnitude of difference between the amounts they're saving. Catch-Up Kathy is putting away $7,900 more per year than Rachel Roth. Of course, all those extra savings will have an associated tax liability whenever she makes a withdrawal from her retirement accounts. To determine how much Kathy and Rachel can spend in retirement, let's make some assumptions about what they have saved today. Again, we're going to assume that they're a little behind on their retirement savings. Life could be hard, so let's not fault them for that. Let's say that they have $25,000 in cash accounts, $75,000 in stocks and mutual funds, $250,000 in retirement accounts, bringing their total investments to $350,000. If Kathy and Rachel plan to retire in 15 years, how much will they have saved at that point? Given their current investments, we can make a simple calculation based upon their savings and projected growth. Let's not forget to add an employer match for Rachel's and Kathy's 401k contributions, since that's common in the real world. Let's assume an employer match of 100% up to a contribution of 3%. Given these assumptions, we expect Rachel Roth to have around $1.5 million saved at retirement, while Catch-Up Kathy will have around $1.7 million. By the way, if you want to run these types of calculations for yourself, I've created an inexpensive downloadable spreadsheet that you can find at pranawealth.com/resources. Now that we know what Kathy and Rachel will have saved at retirement, let's determine what kind of retirement income they can expect. For Rachel, we know she'll have around $1.5 million saved at that point. Using the 4% rule, we can expect her investments to provide approximately $5,100 per month in retirement income. Adding her estimated Social Security brings her total income at retirement to around $9,000. Of course, these numbers are inflated. To make a fair comparison, we'll have to adjust them back to today's dollars. Using our inflation rate of 3%, we find that equates to a retirement income figure of around $5,800 per month for Rachel. When we compare this figure to her pre-retirement expenses, we find that she'll need to reduce her living expenses by around 7% when she steps away from work to have a sustainable retirement. That's certainly not a stretch. So how about Catch-Up Kathy? Knowing that she'll have around $1.7 million saved at age 65, we can expect her portfolio to provide around $5,800 per month at that time. However, we'll need to make an adjustment for taxes, so this is a fair comparison. Let's assume an effective tax rate of 12% for any retirement account withdrawals. When we adjust for taxes and add Social Security, Catch-Up Kathy will have around $9,000 per month for her living expenses. Adjusting for inflation, we find that Kathy's retirement income, in today's dollars, comes out to approximately $5,800 per month, meaning that she'll have to reduce her living expenses by 7% as well in retirement, nearly the exact same as Rachel. The effect of taxes makes today's comparison an interesting one. In our simplified example, we assume a flat 12% tax rate on Kathy's retirement account withdrawals. But is that an accurate number? Using an online quick income tax calculator, Kathy's federal effective income tax rate alone is 12%. We haven't accounted for state taxes at all. So maybe this is what things look like if Kathy and Rachel live in an income tax-free state. Here in the Peach State, her marginal state income tax rate would be 5.75%. Adding that bumps her effective tax rate up to 17.6%. When we rerun these calculations at this new effective tax rate, she'll now need to reduce her living expenses by 10% instead of 7%. All of a sudden, tax rates become the defining variable in this comparison. In other words, your retirement marginal tax rate should be the driving factor in making the traditional versus Roth 401k decision. Our example today exposes one of the limitations of the 4% rule. It doesn't differentiate between different types of accounts for tax purposes. If we run a Monte Carlo analysis for Catch-Up Kathy and Rachel Roth using the same data, we find that they have very high probabilities of retirement success, 81% and 83% respectively. Of course, these numbers don't factor in one-time expenses like home improvements, car purchases, nursing home care costs, or simply changing their retirement spending as they age. In today's comparison, we again find that our two retirees end up in a similar place using different means. For those weighing the question of Roth 401k versus traditional 401k, the question becomes, will your taxes in retirement be sufficiently high to make the Roth 401k option best? Interestingly, it may be your state taxes that wind up being the determining factor. Another consideration to factor into this decision would be other sources of taxable retirement income. If you're expecting to have taxable pension income or even taxable executive compensation, such as defined benefit plan payments, this could be a determining factor as well. Unfortunately, there's no easy rule of thumb when it comes to deciding between traditional 401k contributions or Roth 401k contributions. It's best to work with your financial planner and CPA to weigh your options. If you're retiring with different types of accounts, I recommend that you watch this video that discusses 4 factors to consider when choosing which accounts to use first in retirement. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.